All right, everybody, welcome to the Fox 10 News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. What we have here is two New York City officers have been shot. This happening right now in New York City. It's the very latest that we know. Two police officers were shot in the Bronx Thursday evening. According to authorities, the shooting happened in the Melrose houses at 320 East 156th Street in the Melrose section. The wounded officers were rushed to Lincoln Hospital. Their conditions unknown at this time, but one officer was shot in the face and the other in the leg. Everybody that is watching, welcome to the Fox 10 News Now stream. I do invite you to chat about this subject. You can go right on Twitter and use the hashtag Fox News Now. Hashtag Fox News Now. We will be talking about this. The New York City mayor is on his way to the hospital right now to check on the wounded cops. As you can see, a lot of action here, as you can imagine, when two officers are shot. Just got an update. Current conditions are not life threatening at this time. We repeat, for the two police officers that have been shot in New York City, current conditions are not life threatening. That is tweeted from the New York Police Department news desk. Folks, just a recap here. Welcome everybody to the Fox 10 News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. We are covering breaking news right now out of New York City. 2 officers shot. Their current conditions are not life-threatening at this time. That is the good news. This is outside of a public housing buildings in Brooklyn, in the Bronx. I'm sorry, in the Bronx. Okay, folks, here is the very latest that we do know right now regarding the shooting of two officers in the Bronx Thursday evening shot. The shooting happened around 8 p.m. local time there in the Melrose houses at 320 East 156th Street in the Melrose section. The wounded officers were rushed to Lincoln Hospital. One officer was shot in the face and the other in the leg. The NYPD tweeted that current conditions are not life-threatening at this time. It's unclear how many suspected gunmen are involved, but some reports say that at least one suspect was shot and wounded. The mayor of New York City was delivering his State of the City address a few miles away in the Bronx when the officers were shot. After he finished his speech, aides rushed him and other officials off stage. The mayor was said to be on his way to the hospital. A massive police mobilization is underway. As you can see, dozens of police vehicles responded to the area of the shooting. Police helicopters circled overhead, and officers on the ground scoured the scene. Radio chatter indicated that the housing complex was on lockdown. And folks, feel free to tweet about this action. Use the hashtag Fox News Now, where you can interact with others. All you got to do is tweet using the hashtag Fox News Now. I will also retweet people that are saying that they are watching using hashtag Fox News Now. So if you want to be retweeted, we will be retweeting anybody that tweets using that hashtag. Welcome, everybody, to Fox 10 News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. We do appreciate everybody watching in the stream here. Thank you, Laud, for your tweet there, but I have been talking. We're just waiting to get some more details for you on this breaking news story in New York City here. As you can imagine, it's a very fluid situation. 2 officers have been shot. The good news is that we have heard reports that their injuries are not life-threatening at this time. That's the good news. At least one suspect may have been shot. We don't know if there's other suspects, but this is a government housing area in New York City. Obviously, so much activity here on a police presence basis. Look at, there must be over 60 squad cars. As you know, this is going to be treated as an attempted homicide. So there's going to be a lot of evidence to preserve. We do appreciate everybody being here in the stream. We have more than 100 people watching right here on Fox 10 News Now, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. And all you got to do to join the chat is use the hashtag FoxNewsNow. Just like Law did. He said the dude doing the Fox 10's Fox News Now is a bore. Doesn't he know reporters are supposed to talk? And why does he disable the chat? Well, we're changing things up a little bit on this stream here. We're inviting everybody to tweet using the hashtag Fox News Now, just like you did. We appreciate everybody being part of this stream as we are covering breaking news. We do stream Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Arizona time. Laud's a great fan, though. He really watches and really supports the stream, so we do appreciate you, Laud, for tuning in today. And folks, it's very easy to join the chat. All you got to do is use the hashtag on Twitter, Fox News Now. We're going to be streaming this story for another hour as we wait, hopefully, to get some more info here. And hopefully, but right before we wrap up, hopefully we could get a press conference with somebody from the police to talk. But as you can imagine, they are just very, very busy at this time. Very fluid situation. Folks, we are going to follow this story here for you. That's what we do right here on Fox 10 News Now. That's one of the great things about Fox 10 News Now is we don't have time constraints like TV. You know, TV, they would have to go in and out of commercial breaks and stuff like that. We don't have to do that, folks. We don't do that. We stay on the story. We provide the most comprehensive raw aerials that you'll ever see. Not only just in Arizona, but as you can see in New York City. When there's breaking news, we break it down for you and we show you things that are happening. And more often than not, they're not good things happening. Well, because that's just the way the news cycle works, doesn't it? But join the conversation. Hashtag Fox News Now on Twitter. We'll get everybody talking. This really just breaks it all down to you, doesn't it? You really never know when things can go south in your life. Think about it. These two officers were just doing their job, and then they were brutally attacked by a suspect or even suspects. Can you imagine just doing your job and then getting shot? One officer got shot in the arm. The other in the head. Can you imagine what's going through their family right now? The friends, the family, they must be in grieving mode. Use the hashtag Fox News Now to continue with this chat as we are breaking news live from New York City. 2 officers shot, taken to the hospital. Fortunately, they are expected to live. You just never know in life when life's going to throw you a curveball or a bad hand. The thing about life is you can't get rid of that bad hand. You can only ask for a reshuffle. And hopefully the cards that are coming at you aren't too bad. Well, these cards for these officers tonight were bad. But I think as America and Americans, we are all thinking of these officers tonight. They were just trying to do their job, and then they were attacked. Use the hashtag Fox News Now to join the conversation with me as we break down this breaking news scene in New York City. And folks, we will continue to follow this, but as we come close to the top of the hour, we do want to show you a Marco Rubio rally that just wrapped up a little while ago. If any news does break of this story, we will break in and tell you about it. You guys are watching Fox 10 News Now, and while Marco Rubio is getting set for the rally here, we would like you to chat with us using the hashtag Fox News Now. We do appreciate it, everybody. So go ahead, use Twitter, use social media to your benefit. Join others in the conversation. It's going to be a great rally here. It's going to be a great 1 hour rally. So let me know what you're thinking during it, and we'll retweet some of the best ones on our Fox 10 account. Hope everyone's having a great day, everybody.
Always right. He said, I'm on board, and I will vote for Marco. I hope when you leave here tonight, you will all feel the same way. Vote on Tuesday, because I'm right. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the senator from Florida and our next president of the United States, Marco Rubio.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I want to, well, thank you so much. And yes, especially if they're for me, mothers are always right. I want to introduce you to my family for a moment because they're here. Why don't you guys come up so I can introduce you? Come on, come on. So this is, Jeanette is my wife. We've been married for 17 years. I almost forgot. 18 in October. And it's, and this is my oldest, Amanda, who's 15, almost 16. And Daniela, who's 13, going on 16. And Anthony, who's our 10-year-old, and then Dominic, who is, how old are you, Dominic? 8. 8. Do you want to give your speech now or later? No? All right. I'm so glad they were able to come with me. And you want to stay up here? You guys should sit down. They're going to keep you standing here the whole time. But they were. You want to stay? All right. Stay here. There you go. Sit on the stool. Come on, sit on the stool. That way they won't ask me. Nobody will ask me like a mean question because my son is here. So. They were really excited. They were coming up to the Northeast, and they said, we want it to snow because we don't see a lot of snow. And I'm like, let me tell you. No, I said, listen, the people of New Hampshire do not want snow. I am against snow. But I heard it coming in. It might snow tomorrow. That is not my fault. That's Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. Or maybe it was Bernie. I don't know. It was one of them. So, it was who? What? It was Trump? No, it wasn't. I'll make America snow again, right? So, anyway, I'm so glad you're here. And I want to thank the people in the room next door because they kept us in here because of the fire marshal. But I'm glad they're here, and I wanted to say hello to them. And I'm going to stay as long as it takes to see everybody. Hear that? Very good. I think that's the room where they're doing the free beer, too, so I think that helps. Anyway, no noise. I didn't say anything to that. So, well, listen, I'm grateful you heard. Here's what's amazing about this election. So in Iowa, they had a historic caucus turnout. It was unbelievable. I think 180,000 people turned out to vote. And then here, the interest is extraordinary. And I know that people are here today. Some of you are supporting us, or hopefully many of you are supporting us, and I'm excited. There are people here trying to make up their minds, and you're taking this seriously. New Hampshire always takes this seriously. But this election has a different feel to it. I know you sense it. People are paying attention more than ever before. They're watching the debates, huge ratings in the debates. Even if it was missing one person the last time, there are a lot of people still watching it. Why? Is it because nobody has anything better to do? No. I'll tell you why. Because people sense that something is going wrong, and it's going wrong fast. We know that this is the greatest country in the world because we've all benefited from it. There has never been a country like America in the history of mankind. To begin with, we were founded on an incredible principle, on an incredible truth, that God is the source of our rights, not the government, not our leaders. Our Creator is the source of our rights. That we were founded on that principle. And I believe that's why we've embraced things like free enterprise and limited government. Because we understand that we have a right from our Creator to fulfill our potential, and those systems give us the best chance to do that. But now, yeah, you can clap for free enterprise. It's always good to clap for free enterprise. But now, people feel like a lot of these things that made us special are slipping away. And you ask yourself, well, why is it slipping away? There are a lot of reasons. And look, I think both parties have made big mistakes over the last decade or so, primarily not dealing with our issues. But I want to point you back to 2008 and the election of Barack Obama, because I honestly believe that that was a very negative turning point in American history. Now, you may say, well, you're saying because you're a Republican. Well, I'm saying that because I'm an American. In 2008, we elected a president. We've elected Democrats before, and it hasn't been this way. But in 2008, we elected a president that didn't want to fix America. He wanted to change America. Change it. He wanted to become more like the rest of the world. And so that's why you see a president. He does not respect the Constitution the way I do, the way most, if not all of you do. He views the Constitution as an old, outdated document that we got to figure out how to get around, that it doesn't make sense anymore, it was written a long time ago, and let's ignore it. So he ignores it. Like every day he ignores it. He undermines it. That's why he attacks the Second Amendment. I said at one of the debates, the Second Amendment is not a suggestion. It is a constitutional right. But he constantly undermines our constitutional rights and the Constitution in general. Then you have a president that also views America as an arrogant global power, a country that needed to be cut down to size. That's how you get a president that cuts deals with enemies like Iran, but betrays allies like Israel. A president who's gutting our military, and a president who apologizes for America. He's apologized at least 10 times for America. That is how you win a Nobel Peace Prize 3 months into office. And so the result is people feel like all of these things that made us special are being abandoned. And the result is what you're feeling in your lives. And it's not just anxiety about what's going wrong. It's a sense of uncertainty about what's going to come next. What kind of country is this going to be in 5, 10, or 15 years? Will we still be special? And that's why I think that most Americans now recognize that 2016 is not just a normal election. It is a turning point in our history. 2016 is a referendum on our identity, and there are only two choices. We can be greater than we've ever been, or we will become a great nation in decline. That's why we can't lose this election. If in 2016 America elects Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton, this will become a great nation in decline. It means that all the policies Barack Obama has put in place, all of these unconstitutional executive orders, Obamacare, liberal judges, you name it, all of these things become permanent. We have to win this election. And that's why I'm here today to ask you for your vote. If you vote for me and this party nominates me, the first thing that will happen is I will unify this party, and I will unify the conservative movement. Now, we're going to have a very spirited primary, believe me. I know. I've been the target of a significant number of attacks over the last 3 months. But my point is, that's fine. At the end of the day, we still all have to come together. We cannot win if we're divided against each other. There is nothing the left would love more than to see conservatives and Republicans attacking each other all the time. They want us to remain divided right up to November. No one running for president in the Republican Party can unify this party faster or better than I can, and I will. But I'm not just going to unify the Republican Party. I'm not just going to unify the conservative movement. I'm going to grow it. We are going to take our message to people that are struggling. We are going to take our message to people that have not voted for us. We are going to take our message to people that are living the way that I grew up. My father was a bartender. My mother was a maid, a stock clerk, a cashier. They were not rich people. The Democrats cannot lecture me about people living paycheck to paycheck, because I've lived paycheck to paycheck. I grew up paycheck to paycheck. We will take our message to people living paycheck to paycheck. The people who work hard every day, and yet it's not enough anymore. They can't lecture me about the student loans our young people are facing. We have a 500% increase in student loans in America in the last 10 years. They can't lecture me about it because I had a student loan. And student loans are debilitating. There's only two ways to get rid of a student loan. You pay them off, or you die. And I never thought I'd be able to pay off our student loan. It was so difficult. I was blessed to be able to write a book. It's called An American Son. It's now available in paperback. I don't know why you're laughing. It's available in paperback. If I hadn't done that, I'd still be paying that loan into my 60s. I'm going to take our message to families raising children in the 21st century. Because Jeanette and I, as you saw, are raising 4 kids in the 21st century. And it's become harder than ever to raise our children with the values that they teach in our church and in our home, instead of the values they keep trying to ram down our throat in the popular culture. We are going to unify the conservative movement in the Republican Party, and we are going to grow it, and we are going to win. And when we win, we're going to unify America. Because right now we have a president that pits us against each other. We have a president that decided, I'm going to get to 51% in the next election by turning that 51% against the 49%. I'm going to divide you against each other on the basis of gender and ethnicity and race and religion and geography. We cannot continue to have a president that divides us against each other. Does that mean people are going to agree with me on everything? Of course not. Of course we're going to have policy disagreements. That's why we have elections. That's why we have debates. That's why we have Facebook and Twitter. Well, it's not the only reason why we have it, right? But of course we're going to have debates in this country. But we cannot continue to be pitted against each other. We need a president that will be the president of all Americans, and I will be. There are going to be people that say nasty things about me. There are going to be people that protest me, vote against me. I'm going to cut their taxes too. I'm going to be the president for all Americans. But we have to win. And if I'm our nominee, we win. Too often in the past, you've been asked to settle for other candidates. So you don't have to this time. You can get someone in this race that's strong on the principles you agree with, but who can win. And we have to win. And when I'm our nominee, we will win. And you know who believes that? Hillary Clinton believes that. That's why she attacks me 5 times for every 1 time they attack anyone else in this race. She does not want to run against me. I can't wait to run against her. You still don't want to say anything? Okay. But you also deserve to know something else. What are you going to do? Because it's not enough to come here today and say we're going to make everything better. How are you going to make it better? Here in New Hampshire, you take this very seriously. You've been doing this for a long time. It is not enough to just say I'm angry about the direction of America. You should be angry. You should be angry at both parties. You should be angry at Washington. You should be angry at the most selfish generation of leaders we have ever had. And you know what I mean by that? Here's what I mean. We have never had a generation of leaders that take the attitude that, who cares what debt our kids inherit? We're going to do whatever we want and we'll let the future worry about the future. We've never had that before. Until now. You should be angry. But anger is not a plan. Anger will not solve our problems. It may motivate us to take action, but it will not solve our problems. So let me tell you a few of the things I'm going to do as president. We can get into the rest of them in the questions. The first thing I'm going to do is take the oath of office. To me, the oath of office is not a ceremony. It is a solemn pledge under God's eyes and before the nation that you are going to protect and defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. When I take that oath of office, unlike Barack Obama, I will mean it. I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. We're going to have judges appointed that support applying the Constitution as originally intended, not manipulating it. We're going to defend the Second Amendment. We're going to have an Attorney General and a Justice Department that takes the attitude that no one is above the law. Not even people that are politically connected, and most certainly not people that put private intelligence information on their server. after I take the oath of office, I'm going straight to the Oval Office. And in the Oval Office, as soon as I walk in, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to repeal every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. Beyond that, we're going to get rid of all these crazy EPA rules that are hurting our economy and doing nothing for our environment. We're going to get the federal government out of our public schools. That belongs to school boards. We are not going to force Common Core on our school boards and on our local districts. And on my first day in office, I am going to cancel Barack Obama's deal with Iran. It will finish. On the economy, let me say, presidents don't run the economy. If a politician tells you that they created millions of jobs when they were governor or mayor, you should be concerned. Because if they're telling you the truth, that means they hired 1 million people in government. What those of us in public service are supposed to do is put in place policies that allow the private sector to create jobs. And we're going to do that. We're going to fix our tax code. You may not have heard this, it just broke on the news. The president wants to solve transportation issues in America. Being from the left, guess what his answer? What do you think the answer is to our transportation issues? A tax. He's a tax answer to everything. He wants to put a tax on Ebola. He wants to put a tax. I'm kidding about that. That's not a real thing, but it's everything is a tax. Now it's going to be a $10 a barrel tax. Who's going to pay that? You are. You're going to pay it. Sure, the barrel of oil is down to $35 now. It ain't going to be there forever, but the tax will be. All to fund this pipe dream that he has of high-speed this and clean cars that. And we don't need a tax for these things. Everything is about a tax. They're obsessed with taxes. We're going to fix our tax code, not make it more expensive and more complicated. I have a plan to do that. We're going to roll back federal regulations. Regulations are a tax. We're going to deal with the national debt once and for all when I'm president. And let me tell you where we're headed on that. In less than 5 years, only 17% of our budget will be what they call discretionary spending, meaning the military, things you want to spend money on. The rest of it will be what they call mandatory spending, money you have to spend. It will eat up a significant percentage of our budget. 83% of our budget in less than 5 years will be made up of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the interest on the debt. I want to save Social Security and Medicare. I'm from Florida. You might not know this. But there are a lot of people in Florida on Social Security and Medicare. And one of them is my mom. I am against any changes to Social Security and Medicare that's bad for my mom. Or for anyone like my mom. Here's the good news. We don't have to disrupt it for her. Or anyone who's on Medicare or Social Security now. Or anyone who's about to be on it in the next 10 years. But here's the truth. My son Dominic and my kids and yours, if you're me, there's no way my Social Security and Medicare looks the same as it did for my parents. It has to be different or it won't exist at all. What do I mean by different? Right now I'm supposed to retire at 67. I may have to retire at 68. Instead of, if I've made a lot of money, my Social Security benefits will not grow as fast as they grow for somebody else who made less money. Medicare could be the option of taking my Medicare money and using it to buy a private plan that I like better. These are not unreasonable changes for someone who's 25 years away from retirement. For someone who's 45 years away from retirement. In exchange for saving the programs, leaving them exactly the way they are or better for the people that are on it now, and bringing our debt under control. Another thing we need to do to help grow our economy, we have to get rid of Obamacare. It is a job-killing law. Everybody running for president will tell you, as a Republican, we're getting rid of Obamacare. I'm the only one running for president that's ever done anything meaningful about it. I got rid of the bailout fund that they had created in Obamacare. I led the effort and we got rid of the bail. They were going to bail out private insurance companies with your money. And we got rid of that. When I'm president, we're getting rid of the rest of it, and we're replacing it by putting you in charge of your health care decisions again, not the government. You all right? Okay. The other, you know, a lot of you probably already know this. My parents were immigrants from Cuba. My grandparents were immigrants. Jeanette's entire family are immigrants. I grew up in a community of immigrants, and I still live in a community of immigrants. I understand this issue personally. I would venture to say I understand it personally better than anyone who's ever run for president. And I know that like every other issue, immigration, transportation, healthcare, all of it, our policies must be first and foremost about what's good for America. That's what the first thing we need to ask ourselves, is it good for America and is it good for Americans? Let me tell you what's good for Americans. Keeping ISIS out of America is good for Americans. That's why when I'm president, it's not a religious test. We're not discriminating against anyone. It's a very simple rule. When I'm president, if we don't know who you are and why you're coming, you are not getting into the United States of America. Securing our border is good for America. Every sovereign country does it. I'm tired of being told securing our border, that's anti-immigrant. No, it's not. It's what sovereign countries do. And we know what it takes to secure our border. For example, instead of hiring 20,000 IRS agents, let's hire 20,000 border agents. Let's finish the 700 miles of fencing and walls that we know we need. Let's have mandatory E-Verify, so you can't get hired if you're in this country illegally. Let's have an entry-exit tracking system for visas, because 40% of the people in this country illegally overstayed their visas. And if you do these things, you will bring illegal immigration under control, and we're not doing anything else until that happens first. And even after that, we'll deal with the rest of it, not with amnesty. If you're a criminal alien, you should be immediately deported. And when I'm president, sanctuary cities will lose all of their federal funding. The last topic I want to talk about is national security. It's the most important topic. It's why we have a federal government. Commander-in-chief is the most important job of a president. This president's a terrible commander-in-chief, because the world is more dangerous than it was 7 years ago. And in a more dangerous world, you know what he's doing? He is gutting our military. So maybe you're thinking that's an exaggeration. He's not gutting our military. Well, let me give you the facts. The facts are that we will soon have the smallest army since the end of World War II. We will soon have the smallest Navy in 100 years. And we will soon have the smallest Air Force and the oldest airplanes we have ever had in our history. Not only is this reckless, it is unfair to our men and women in uniform. Because we are still asking them to go into harm's way. We are still asking them to fight for us and potentially die for us. Except now we're asking them to do that with lower pay. We're asking them to do that with less equipment, older equipment, and less people alongside them. I actually think it's unacceptable that anyone runs for president in the party of Reagan who has voted for budgets that brag about cutting defense spending. So I want to be very clear. When I'm president, we're not cutting defense spending. When I'm president, we are going to rebuild the U.S. military, because the world is a safer and a better place when America is the strongest military in the world. When I'm president, the best intelligence agencies in the world are going to find the terrorists. The best military in the world is going to destroy them. And if we capture any of these terrorists alive, they're not getting a lawyer, they don't have the right to remain silent, they're going to Guantanamo. And we're going to find out everything they know. And we're going to take care of our veterans. What's happening today with our veterans in America is immoral. Immoral. I've seen this experience firsthand. My brother's a veteran. He was an Army Green Beret from 68 through 71. He's 21 years older than me. My parents were very optimistic people. They had me in their 40s. So, and my sister after, and I'm really grateful to them. But I've watched him fight for this dental claim that he has. They always fight with him. How do we know it really happened in the Army? He says, well, it's the only time I ever jumped out of a plane. What we're doing to our veterans is immoral in this country. And in that vein, let me say, a lot of our veterans go on to service as firefighters and police officers. And I'm just, I think we need to remember that today when there's a terrorist attack in America, like in San Bernardino, it's firefighters and police officers that respond first. And I'm so tired of reading about how bad the police is. Let me tell you about the police and the fires in this country. When there's trouble, they respond. They put their lives on the line for us. We are grateful to our firefighters and our police officers. And we're grateful to our veterans. And they deserve for us to care for them after they took care of us. When I am president, if you're doing a bad job at the VA, you are going to be fired. And when I'm president, veterans will be able to take their benefits to any hospital or any doctor that they want to go to. So let me just close where I began. I want to get to your questions in a moment. We'll have this young lady, hold up the flag, there you go. Where's our other flag? And this young man here with the excellent Under Armour Marco Rubio sweatshirt that hopefully we'll soon be able to sell online. Very popular. But let me just close by saying we've got to win this election. I know that you have a lot of names to pick from. 1 out of 8 Republicans ran for president this year. It's a lot of people. Almost an exaggeration, maybe 1 out of 9. It was a lot of people. I saw the New Hampshire ballot. There was like 44 names on there. A lot of people. My cousin, I didn't know. No, I'm kidding. But this is an important election. It really, and I said that on the outset, and we can't afford to lose. We've got to nominate people that can win, because if we lose, it means all the damage Barack Obama's done to America becomes permanent. If we lose this election, it means you have President Bernie Sanders. Bernie's a very nice guy, by the way. I know him personally. I've worked with him on an issue on VA accountability. We agreed on one thing. We worked together on it. We got it done. The rest of it, not so much. Bernie's a socialist. Now, usually when you say someone's a socialist in American politics, they deny it. They get insulted by it. He says it in his commercials. I don't want to be a socialist country. There's like 50 socialist countries. If you want to live in a socialist country, move to a socialist country. We want to be America. Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being president. Okay? You cannot put sensitive, classified information on your private server that you know is now vulnerable to foreign intelligence agencies and then expect that you can be president of the United States. She thinks she's above the law. She is not above the law. She should not be above the law. But she's not just disqualified from being president, she is disqualified from being commander-in-chief. Because anyone who lies to the family of people who have lost their lives in the service of our country, like those 4 brave Americans did in Benghazi, anyone who lies to families like that can never be commander-in-chief of the United States of America. You nominate me, we win, and we can turn this country around. And we have to do it now, because we're running out of time. If we get this election wrong, it might be too late for America. We can't let that happen. Are you hot? Huh? Would you like some water? I want some water.
Michael, please turn around.
Thank you. My favorite kind of heckler, people taking pictures of you heckling. Turn around. Look, this is such an important election. It's deeply personal for me. This is the country that, I wasn't just born in America, it's the country that changed the history of my family. My parents came here in 1956 with nothing. I mean with nothing. They barely had an education. They grew up poor in Cuba. They came here with no money. They didn't know anyone. They had a few relatives. They had no connections. And they struggled. Life was hard for them when they got here. It was not an instant success. It was so hard, my parents were discouraged. But they persevered. Let me tell you what my parents' life looked like less than 10 years after they came here with nothing. They owned a home. My father was just a bartender on Miami Beach. They owned a home. And they didn't just own a home, they owned a home in a safe and a stable neighborhood. Years later, they retired with dignity and security, not with wealth, but they retired with dignity and security thanks to Social Security and Medicare and the little bit they were able to put aside. But you know the most important thing of all for my parents? They lived to see all 4 of their children be better off than themselves. They worked so hard all those years, they sacrificed so their kids could have all the chances they never did. And they lived to see it. And why I'm so grateful to America, why I have a debt to this country I'll never be able to repay, is because they couldn't have done that anywhere else on this planet. If my parents had gone anywhere else except America, I would not be here tonight. I would certainly not be running for the highest office in the land. I was blessed. God blessed us. He allowed my parents to come to the one place on earth where the son of a bartender and a maid could have the same dreams and the same future as the son of a president or the son of a millionaire. And that's the country I want to leave for my children, yours. And that's why this election's so important. And that's what we're on the verge of losing. Because you see, America's not special by accident. It is special because the people who came before us did what they needed to do. Your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, they did what they needed to do. In each generation for over 2 centuries, Americans confronted their challenges, not left them to their children. Now the time has come for us to do our part. Now the time has come for this generation to do its part. And when I'm president, we will. When I am president, we will re-embrace all of the principles that made America great. And we are going to apply them to the challenges of the 21st century. And if we do this, let me tell you what history will say about us. When we do what needs to be done in this generation, it will say that because we did what needed to be done, our children grew up to be the freest, the most prosperous Americans that ever lived. It will say that the American dream that changed the world, it didn't just survive. It was expanded to reach more people and change more lives than ever before. It will say that because we did what needed to be done, the 21st century was better than the 20th century. The 21st century was a new American century. This is what we can build together. So thank you. Thank you. And now we want to take your questions. Do you want to stay up here for this or you want to go sit down? You've had enough. All right. I was kidding about the water, guys. I have some here. My kids are like all here throwing bottled waters at me. I'm good. But I'll have some. Okay, please fly the flag so that we can get everybody on microphone. We have plenty of time. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. I think your message of unifying the country and representing all Americans has resonated, and I think that's a gift to America. What we need is, not to be divided, particularly against ourselves. One of the things I'd like you to consider tweaking slightly is the issue, religious freedom. Your parents, we have a different religion when you were a kid, and that provided you good values too, and there was discrimination against that religion. But with the people that there's been recent talk about hate crimes towards Muslims, and these things lead into wars too, and we could torture, and then we're talking about torturing people of color and such. The people that are of Muslims are a different color though too. So in terms of the hate crimes, which have quadrupled since some of these attacks against Muslims, I think I'd just like you to include them in your vision, of representing all Americans. And I think that makes you a great candidate that represents all Americans, speaking out against hate crimes.
Yeah, who's in favor of hate crimes? I'm not talking about torturing anybody. And I agree. I don't think anyone. Look, if you go to the national cemeteries in America, it's full of crosses and stars of David, but you'll see some crescent moons too. There are Americans, Muslim Americans, who have died in the service of our country. There are Muslim Americans now that serve in uniform all over the world on our behalf and for our safety. I'm talking about terrorists. I'm talking about killers. I'm talking about animals. People that become radicalized. And I don't care how you became radicalized. If they were radical Catholics or radical Presbyterians, we'd be fired up about that as well. But we cannot ignore that there is a strain of Islam that is not just radicalized and politicized, it's become violent. And by the way, we need the help of the Muslim community in America to find these people. They know where the radical mosques are. They would be the first ones to possibly see this radicalization and address it. I agree with that. I don't think, of course we're a nation where people are going to be respected. One of the things I love about this country is its religious liberties. But by the way, religious liberties, on that topic, that is not just the right to believe whatever you want. That is a right to live out the teachings of your faith in every aspect of your life without being punished. And by the way, I think that we would be ignorant not to recognize that our Judeo-Christian values have been an extraordinary influence on this country. It is one of the reasons why this is the most charitable nation on earth, the most caring nation on earth. We'll never want to lose that. Absolutely.
It's good to see you again, Senator.
Thank you.
When you become president, you have a tall order. You have two chambers there.
Yes.
And they always don't play nice to each other. And what's your vision for getting the Republicans and the Democrats to do what needs to be done to make this country great again?
Well, one of the reasons why I want to run for president is that members of Congress can help shape the agenda, but only a president can set the agenda. As an example, the national debt. You will never get a serious effort to deal with the national debt unless the president leads that effort. Because the presidency has the attention of the American people. And so it is important to lead in setting the agenda. You set the priorities. This is the year we're finally going to deal with the debt, and Congress will respond. I'm not telling you that they're all going to get along with each other. These are very diverse people that come from very different parts of the country with very different ideas. I think when there's a chance to work together on an issue, you work together on an issue. I've done that. I've done that. For example, we sanctioned Hezbollah earlier this year. That was bipartisan. My co-sponsor on that bill was Jean Shaheen. I also passed the Girls Count Act with her. As I told you, I've worked with Bernie Sanders on VA reform. We agreed on at least that one thing. We got it done. But there are issues we're not going to be able to come to agreement on. They're not going to cooperate with us on repealing Obamacare. We're going to have an election over that. On all my higher education ideas, those are bipartisan. I'll work. Listen, if something's bipartisan, the chances of it passing increase exponentially. So absolutely, when there's a chance to work together, I will pursue it vigorously. But I want to be frank with you. There are issues where we're not going to be able to work together because we have a dramatic disagreement. And I think this is more so today than ever because the most underreported story in American politics is that there are no moderate Democrats left at the national level. On the national stage, there are very few moderate Democrats left. That party has been taken over by a far left element in their own party. When the leading candidate in the polls is a socialist, what does that tell you about where the Democratic Party has gone? And so, again, this is a free country. You can believe in whatever you want. That's why we have elections, and you get to decide. But there are big differences of opinion that we're going to have to work through, and that's why we have election. On the issues we could work together, absolutely. And let me tell you, the national debt better be one of them. Because when this country has a debt crisis, everyone's going to pay the price for it. There's not going to be any partisan immunity to it. And by the way, this is a bipartisan debt. Obama grew it faster than anyone ever has, but you don't get to $20 trillion in debt without bipartisan cooperation. Both parties have been complicit in doing nothing about this. And so now both parties will have to fix it. When I'm president, that will be among my top domestic priorities. And rebuilding our military should be a bipartisan idea. That's never been a politicized one in the past, at least heavily politicized. We all should agree that if we're not safe, we can't be prosperous. And the world today is a very dangerous place. Good evening.
I'm Mayor Cindy Lerner from South Florida.
Yes.
And actually we served together in the Florida legislature. I want to wish you a lot of luck on this campaign. I'm here on behalf of 15 South Florida mayors who sent you a letter asking you to acknowledge the reality and the urgency of climate change and asking for you to meet with us so that we can discuss our concerns with you. So I'm here with the letter to personally deliver it to you and ask you if you will meet with the 15 mayors from South Florida.
Sure. But I can just tell you right now, I'm not going to destroy our economy. And I mean, first of all, the climate's always changed. The climate's never been the same. It's always changed. And there's changes going on. We see it in South Florida. You see it around the country. That's not the issue. I'm a policymaker. I have to decide what we're going to do policy-wise. Okay? So I get presented these bills. We want you to pass this bill. Okay? How many feet of sea rise will it prevent? None. Not in the next 150 years, and certainly not if China and India don't do the same thing. Okay. How many degrees of warming is it going to prevent? Well, we don't think it will prevent any, at least not for a long time. And then I go to The Economist. If I pass this law, what will it do to our economy? It'll make us more expensive. It'll make it harder to create jobs. It'll put us at a competitive disadvantage. I can't support something that does nothing to help the environment but devastates our economy. So what do we do instead? I think we empower the American innovator, which is what I do through my tax plan, which is what I've always supported. Let's lead the world in every energy resource. Let's lead the world in wind, in solar, in biofuels, and renewables, but we are going to fully utilize our natural gas, which, by the way, is a clean source of energy. Let's build more nuclear power plants. That's a clean source of energy generation, but they're against that too. So my point is, I am absolutely in favor of doing things that help us become more cleaner and energy independent, but I am not supporting anything that hurts our economy. And in terms of what... And by the way, it's going to snow here tomorrow, so... but thank you for coming, Mayor, and I'll get the letter. We'll get it from you. Yes?
Senator, this is your second to last question.
We'll add one more. Yeah.
Hi, Senator.
Yes.
I'm glad to have you
good to
back.
see you. Absolutely.
And I'm so glad to be supporting you.
Thank you.
I know you've had this question before, but I just wanted to ask it again. As a state senator, we're in the process of extending Medicaid expansion. It's supposed to end in December of this year. And my question is, what are your thoughts on Medicaid expansion, and should we continue it?
Well, look, every state can make their decision. I'm going to tell you, it is built on a promise the federal government will never keep. It is built on the promise that you expand Medicaid, add all of these people to your rolls, and we're going to pay a portion of it now. Eventually, that money will go away. The people will remain on your rolls. So you're going to have to figure out where to get the money to keep those people on Medicaid. And invariably, I know state budgets, about half your state, I'm guessing half your state budget goes to education. So you're either going to, or a significant percentage of it, and so you're going to have to find the savings from somewhere, or you're going to have to raise taxes. Okay? Now, Medicaid is an important program. It is there to provide health insurance for people that are poor and cannot access health care. And the better approach would be to take federal Medicaid money and put it into what I call a flex fund and block grant it to states and allow states the flexibility to design a Medicaid program that works well for that state, as opposed to a one-size-fits-all federal approach that I think has become more costly and, by the way, provides less services. In many states in this country, the fee-for-service Medicaid program is not very good. There's no coordination of care. But I want to empower states to make that decision by block granting it. My advice would be, if you expand Medicaid into your states, you are going to be on the hook for money the federal government is not going to provide. It will not be there. They never keep their promises, and they won't keep their promises now. You are putting taxpayers in the state on the hook for future tax increases or massive reductions in education and other things that are real priorities for your states. So buyer beware on that sort of thing. Because the money will go away, but the patients will still be there, and you're going to have to find the money somewhere to pay for it. And it could very well have to be through tax increases, which I know you're big fans of here in New Hampshire, or dramatic cuts in other services. So I think a better approach that allows us to provide care for patients is to allow the federal government to block grant the money to states, so states, with that money that they're given, can design innovative, cost-effective, and high-quality programs that allow the poor to get access to health care without these runaway costs that we're seeing now.
Thank you. I'm a disabled veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Thank
we
you.
are honored by your presence.
The Veterans Administration of New Hampshire and Massachusetts are really good. We had no problems whatsoever with the VA.
Good.
But this year we didn't get a cost of living allowance. Adjustment, right. Is there any way you can take care of that if you become elected?
Sure. What are you talking about, on Social Security or on the veterans benefits?
Disability benefits.
The disability benefits.
Yeah, we didn't get one at Social Security either.
So, yeah, I know. It's complicated, but part of it is that it's tied into the cost, the CPI, which inflation technically didn't go up last year, but the cost of living really did. It's a 5-minute answer, but that's a big issue that we need to confront as well. Are you talking about the general disability fund or specifically for veterans? In general, okay. So 2 points. First on the VA. I'm glad you said that, because There are good VA systems in America, and there are good people at the VA, a lot of good people at the VA. We're not talking about them when we talk about what the problems are. I'm talking about the people that are not doing a good job. And you really can't fire them. You are likelier to win the Powerball than you are to be fired from a federal agency. So we need to have more accountability. But yes, if there's a good VA system, when I'm president, you can stay there. If you like it, you have your choice. You can stay at the VA. You can, if maybe you want to go to a different doctor that's not in the VA system, you'll have the flexibility to do that. The Social Security Disability Fund is bankrupt. They had to fill in the gap this year. And one of the reasons why it's going bankrupt is because of fraud. Because you have people that are not legitimately disabled who have found their way onto the disability rolls because it is rampant with corruption. You have all of these that they get denied, they appeal it to these judges that are in cahoots with these lawyers, and they're basically allowing people on for all sorts of things that are not real disability. And that's unfair to the people that are legitimately disabled, and they're bankrupting it. The Disability Fund has become the new long-term unemployment fund. It's become the new long-term unemployment fund, and they're driving it into the ground. So we've got to reform the way. It cannot be easier to get on disability than it is to get off. And as part of it, we have to provide more services for people to become independent of disability. In your case, that may not apply. But in the case of someone who's been injured at work, or someone who faces some other struggle, allowing them to access the training they need, the workforce training they need, the capacitation and rehabilitation skills that they need, so they can work again, so they can become independent again. But we have to look at this. It is going bankrupt because it is full of fraud. People have figured out how to game the disability system, and it is unfair to the people that are legitimately disabled, and it is especially unfair to people that have been disabled in the service of our country. And that has to be a priority as well.
Hi, I know you talked about ISIS. I just want to know what your exact plans are to defeat them and get them out of here.
Well, first of all, we have to keep them out of America, and I think it's important for us to review the way we allow people to enter the country. We're going to have to do things differently than we used to do it. And the reason why is because the world has changed. You now have a radical jihadist group that is looking to get people into America, using our immigration system, using a refugee crisis. So we're going to have to change that approach. We also have the risk of homegrown violent extremists, people that are already here. The killer in San Bernardino, that terrorist was an American citizen, born and raised in this country, who became radicalized and left behind his infant child. He was a health inspector and killed 14 people and wanted to kill hundreds before brave law enforcement was able to stop him. That's another challenge that we face. But I have to understand who ISIS is. ISIS is the most... First of all, it's the best organized, best funded, radical jihadist group in the history of the world. Beyond that, ISIS is an apocalyptic group. What that means is this. ISIS used to be a part of Al-Qaeda. They broke away from Al-Qaeda because they don't think Al-Qaeda is violent enough. Think about that. Al-Qaeda is one of the worst things you can imagine. ISIS thought they weren't radical enough, so they broke away. ISIS is motivated theologically by a belief in an apocalypse. They want to trigger a final showdown in a city called Dubuque. I have to be careful because in Iowa I was saying that and people thought I said Dubuque and they freaked out. So it's not Dubuque, it's Dubuque. D-A-B-I-Q. It's a city in northern Syria. They believe, this is how they recruit fighters. They'll tell you, we are going to have a war in the city of Dubuque. Us versus the West, we are going to win, and then the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, is going to emerge from hiding and is going to govern the world. And everyone in the world is either going to be a radical Sunni or you're going to die. That's what they believe. I'm not telling you that's what's going to happen. I'm telling you that's what they believe. And so this is who we're dealing with here. Why is that important to understand? Because people who believe in apocalyptic things do not go out of business. They don't turn into stockbrokers. They don't open a chain of Dunkin' Donuts. Okay? They're killers, and they're willing to die even if it takes 1,000 years. They love death more than we love life, is what they like to say. They're very dangerous people, and they're very capable. They now have affiliates in over a...
Move in here. You can take the second row if you don't mind. All right, folks. First Deputy Commissioner Ben Tucker will start. Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, very good. Okay, Commissioner.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm going to give you a preliminary background on the events this evening. At around 8 p.m. this evening, 2 of our police officers were shot and wounded inside a stairwell at 320 East 156th Street within the Melrose housing development in the South Bronx. 3 officers were conducting a vertical patrol in the 6th floor stairwell area when they encountered 2 individuals, one of whom produced a firearm and shot at our officers. The suspect then fled into an apartment on the 7th floor. Responding officers gained access to the apartment where they discovered several individuals as well as the suspect, who was found dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. A semi-automatic firearm and a shotgun were recovered inside the apartment. Several individuals have been taken to the 4-0 precinct for investigation. The second individual who the officers encountered in the stairwell is also in custody. There are 2 injured officers have been transported to this hospital, Lincoln Hospital. Their identities are being withheld pending notification of their family members. The officers are both assigned to Housing Bureau PSA 7. They both have 2 years on the force. The name of the deceased suspect is being withheld pending family notification. At this time, I'll turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Well, our brave officers were doing their job tonight in our public housing, on patrol, keeping the residents safe. And they confronted an armed assailant. You'll hear more momentarily, but thank God so far in both cases their condition is good. We have more that has to play out this evening, and they're getting very fine care here at Lincoln Hospital. I want to thank everyone at Lincoln Hospital, but I'm pleased to say both officers have been alert and communicating. So we are praying for the best here, and of course our hearts and our prayers are with their families. We met with the family of one of the officers. The other family is on the way to let them know the officers are getting very good care and a lot of attention to help them through this trying moment. But it's another example of what our officers confront every single day, keeping us safe, not only in the streets in New York City, but in the stairwells and the hallways of our public housing developments. I want to thank all the leaders of the NYPD who are here. I want to thank Pat Lynch of the PBA, and I want to thank all of the elected officials who are here in solidarity with these officers and their families, including Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., Councilmember Vanessa Gibson, Public Advocate Tish James, Bronx DA Darcel Clark, Comptroller Scott Stringer, Assemblymember Michael Blake, and also want to thank the President of the Health and Hospitals Corporation, which runs this hospital, Ram Raju, and the Chair of the Housing Authority, Shola Olate. These officers, again, getting fine care here, both very early in their work on the force, both 2 years on the job, but doing their job, going out there, keeping people safe, and running into some bad guys. But thank God that the first responders came to their aid. The hospital is standing by them, taking care of them. And again, our thoughts, our prayers, our hearts are with them and their family. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, Pat, would you like to say a few words?
Once again, we're here at this hospital. Fortunately, this time we're not getting the worst news, but we still have 2 police officers that were shot. This goes to show the dangers police officers face each and every day. This shows the complex nature in which we work. It shows the difficulty and the danger of vertical patrols in our buildings. We also need prayers. While the news is decent for these police officers, their families are still worried. As always, we need your support each and every day. We need your support to tell us when someone's carrying a gun. We need your support to teach our young folks that pulling a gun on a police officer works for no one. So we ask for your support, we ask for your prayers, and we ask for your understanding each and every day.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, folks, as you know, we can take just a quick few preliminary questions, all right, but understand.
Commissioner, if the shooter is dead, what is the basis for holding the other folks?
I didn't catch your question. Can you?
If the shooter is dead, what is the basis for holding the other folks, and what are they alleged to have done?
They're alleged to have done nothing. Right now, we're interviewing as we go forward. One male was with this individual, the shooter, in the hallway and in the stairwell. So we're speaking to him, and we have 3 others in the apartment. We're getting statements from them. They're not being held for anything. They're freely giving information.
Was the stairway dark?
No. The stairway I was in afterwards was not dark.
Chief, does the suspect live there, or just can you kind of...
Unknown at this time.
And so the apartment that he went to are his family members, or we don't...
He knew someone in the apartment. They let him in.
Chief, is it clear what happened during the stop? What was said? Did they ask them for their ID?
We have not talked to the officers involved. We're speaking to one of the persons who was with the shooter, the perpetrator. We did recover a .32 caliber gun inside the apartment while rendering aid to the perpetrator. We also recovered a shotgun in that apartment as well. We're getting a search warrant to do the rest of the apartment as we stand now.
Was this a routine patrol, or were they looking for anything specifically?
Pardon me?
Was this a routine patrol, or were they looking for
Routine patrol. We do this every day in the city of New York.
Can you tell us more about the officers and if they've said anything tonight, how they're feeling right now?
No. It's much too early for that.
Yeah.
The family hasn't been notified yet.
Right.
What is the genders of the officers?
One is a female and one is a male. They both have 2 years on the job. And we'll get more detail, but at this point, really, that's more than we can say right now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
One more question. What are your thoughts on the inherent danger of these vertical patrols?
Pat Lynch has spoken about that already. Thank you.
Were they wearing a vest?
I will check, but I imagine they were. Yeah.
You said where they were hit?
One has a face wound and one has an abdomen wound.
So you expect